Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for episode 96 of my random horror reviews. Today's movie is an interesting one. It's a film that I have seen once before, but I actually oddly have a lot of memories with this movie. It's one that I used to see all the time at my movie rental place when I was younger. And I never actually rented it back in the day. I just always remember the cover sitting on the shelves, the cover art always standing out to me, looking very strange and weird and interesting. It's a film from 2009, so I'm guessing it probably was in the new release section around that time. As I said, I'm just grasping things from my memory at the moment, but I have seen it, as I said, once before, but it would have only been maybe 3 years ago. But obviously gave it a rewatch for today's review. So today's film from 2009, a Canadian film. It's titled Splice. I'm sure just by looking at the cover, you guys can tell it's a sci-fi horror creature feature type of film. Pretty interesting. So before we get into my thoughts of Splice, we'll quickly go into the plot for this one. So in this movie, we follow a couple of young, rebellious scientists. They're in a relationship with each other. Their names are Elsa and Clive. And what they do is they splice animal DNA together, and they make these like little blob creatures. I forget the purpose of making these creatures, but like from what you can gather at the start, there's like kangaroo DNA, frog, lizard, like all these animals put together, and they make these little blob creature thingies. I don't know what you want to call them. But eventually their end goal is they want to add human DNA. The company funding their research and whatever, they're like, nah, you're not doing that. So they go behind their back and they do add human DNA to their next experiment, and then eventually they make this creature named Dren. They name it Dren, and it evolves over time, eventually looking something like this that we have on the cover. And obviously, it's a horror movie, sci-fi. Things start to go a bit crazy, so I'm going to leave it there. Before I get into my thoughts of this movie, I just want to remind you guys, as I said, today is episode 96 of my random horror reviews. For episode 100 coming up, I am doing a viewer's choice. Just to keep it as simple with an explanation, all you guys need to do is go into the comments for today's review or any of the reviews leading up to episode 100 and let me know what horror movie you would like to see me review for my viewer's choice episode 100. So keep that simple out of the way. Let's move on to my thoughts of 2009's Splice. So where I want to start with this movie is I really enjoy the fact that this movie gets going like right from the get-go. Like the ball starts rolling instantly, and I literally mean like right away. Like the opening scene to this movie is them birthing one of those blob creatures that I was talking about in the introduction. Like it gets going straight away, which I love. Sometimes I find with sci-fi horror movies in particular, they do a lot of science talk and science mumbo jumbo to kind of get your head wrapped around, what's going on in this world that they're showing in the movie and stuff. But like I said, this one just gets going straight away, which I really appreciate. But from then on, the rest of the movie is just kind of a sequence of developments that are just really avoidable, and it feels like it's sort of grows thin, at least for me, at a certain point. Where I actually kind of want to start with this one is with a negative, I guess, because, like I said, a lot of shit in this movie is really avoidable, like really avoidable. And I do understand in not just horror movies, in any movie in general, shit normally needs to go sideways to get the story going and, make a good film. But one of our leads in this movie, being Elsa, is so fucking annoying, and pretty much everything that goes wrong is because of her, like her decision making, her attitude. She was honestly like one of my least favorite characters. It's got nothing to do with the actress's performance and everything. Just her decision making, her attitude. Pretty much everything that goes wrong is because of her. Now, before I move on any further, I do want to stay on the topic of Elsa because I find her character, there is a lot to break down and talk about. Firstly, I find her to be insanely reckless. She keeps breaking promises and rules and agreements. Like the first time that her and her partner Clive, who is played by Adrian Brody, by the way, which I think is very cool. The first time they put the human DNA into the next experiment, Clive is going like, okay, we need to cut it off here, and she's like, okay, but then does it anyway, and then just laughs, and she's like, aren't you excited? And he's like, no, we need to stop this now, and she just keeps going and going. She'll say her intentions are one thing, but then she'll go and do the opposite, and then she flip-flops on her morals, and then what's even worse to me is she judges people on their morals. It's like flip-flop on yours, but then fucking critique people for what they think is the right choice. It's really fucking like annoying. And I do want to highlight again, I don't think this has got anything to do with the actress's performance at all. I actually think she does a very good job. And I'm actually even kind of hesitant to say that the character itself is a negative to the story, because sometimes there are characters that you're supposed to hate or find annoying, or, sometimes it's a good feeling to not click with a character and sort of have this beef with them, because, it's a credit to the writing and the performance and everything. So that could be the situation here. Maybe it's just I find her personally annoying. But there's a part in this movie where Clive, again played by Adrian Brody, does something very weird and very fucked up. And I mean very fucked up. Those who have seen this movie before, you're going to have no hesitation with knowing what scene I'm talking about. You're going to be like, yep, I know the scene. Because again, it is very weird and very fucked up. But Elsa catches him doing this act, and then she goes on this rant saying, oh, you've changed, and you're out of control, you're crazy. Bruh, that was you the whole fucking movie, and the movie's not over yet. There's still like another half hour. You're gonna get fucking even more out of control and crazy, way more than what he is. Yes, he was doing something extremely fucked up, but like, pot calling the kettle black much, like, it was so fucking annoying. Like, this whole movie, she was going rogue, not listening to better judgment. And yes, as I said, what Clive did was fucked up, but like, it was just so annoying to me. Even Clive and Elsa's relationship with Dren, because Dren starts out as this little thing and then grows into this more humanoid creature. As Dren grows, their ideals sort of change over time, and their perspective of how they should raise Dren and everything changes. And it is a bit weird, so I guess I'll leave it there a bit with Elsa and Clive and move on to something else now. So moving on from talking about the characters, since I did that for so long, the movie itself, in my opinion, is actually pretty entertaining. I feel like this is a pretty underrated sci-fi horror film, but then again, I actually don't know too many people's opinions on this movie, purely because I actually don't hear it get brought up a lot. So I guess I'm going to stay with the fact that it's underrated, since I haven't heard it get brought up a lot. But this movie flies by also. It's a runtime of 1 hour 40. If you asked me before checking the runtime, I probably would have guessed like 1 hour 20. Like, it just flies by to me. But like I said earlier, once Dren is born in this movie, if you want to use that term, the movie turns into a sequence of different scenarios and developments. But it's still so entertaining because everything is so strange and intriguing. Like, it's almost so hard to turn away and like take your eyes off it, because there's just so many strange and weird, quirky things going on in this movie. There's some fucked up shit going on in this movie too. There's moments where there's really solid gore and body horror. It's just really interesting and intriguing to watch Dren evolve over time, because that's, I guess, what she's doing. As I said, she starts off as this little, I don't know what to call it, like kangaroo humanoid thing, and then grows into this more humanoid thing with a tail and weird legs. Like, it's really interesting if you haven't seen this movie. But also at moments, it kind of has like this high budget made for TV sci-fi movie. Like, as I said, with like a higher budget, it sort of has that feel about it. But overall, the movie is actually really engaging. By the end of the movie, the whole events, as I said though, feel really avoidable. Could have easily not happened if it wasn't for Elsa. Which I think she does know by the end of the movie, which is kind of satisfying. Though the way that the movie ends and her final decision, if you have seen this movie, it's almost like she hasn't learnt, or she's just accepting that she's gone too far, and, whatever happens with her fate from here on, it's what happens. Because she still puts science ahead of everything else, I guess. I don't know, it's a weird one. I'm getting off topic though. I might as well wrap up this review because I've pretty much said all I want to say. Splice from 2009. As I said, I feel like it is an underrated sci-fi horror movie. If you haven't checked it out, get around to it. Creature feature kind of as well. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. A pretty solid enough watch. Yeah, thank you for joining me for this random horror review again, guys. As I said, this is episode 96, episode 100, which will be a viewer's choices coming up soon. So get in the comments, let me know what horror movie you'd like to see me review for episode 100, and I'll put it in a random shuffle. Whatever one I pull will be the viewer's choice for episode 100. But thank you for joining me again, guys, and I'll see you for another video soon. Peace.